Hi, welcome everyone to PopCultX episode 160. With you, as always, are your co-hosts Danny and Gabriel. With you with all your pop culture news. Let's go ahead and get started. Danny, what's going on? How you been?
Oh, it's the sun is going down earlier each day. It seems like it's getting darker, and it's
Yeah,
kind of annoying because I like it when it's like 9 o'clock at night and the sun's still, it's still light out a little bit. But now
yeah,
it's like 6 o'clock almost, and it's like, all right, no more sun for you today. But
yeah.
it's cool because fall, autumn is my favorite time of year, so I don't mind it too much. Other than that aspect of it, I mean, it's still 90 degrees here in Vegas,
Wow.
although I think in the next couple days it's going to drop into the 70s, which I'm really looking forward to. So, but I'll still be wearing shorts and tank tops even when it gets down into the 50s.
Yeah.
you know, that's just it is what it is. um,
Well, I kind of like the dark coming out sooner than I'm not a big fan of summer and the sun. So
okay.
like the faster it gets dark, the better for me. Uh, I love that spooky season right now that's going on. So it lends itself to be a little bit spookier when the lights go off.
Yeah.
So it's cool. I like it.
Cool. Cool. Well, you did say spookier, so I've been watching a lot of horror films. Not a lot. I've been watching some horror films. I'll put it that way. But I thought of a good little fun little quiz or exercise that we can do.
All right.
And not exercise, it makes it sound like something from a classroom. Um I was gonna tell you the ending of the last horror film I saw to see if you
All
could
right.
guess what movie it was based on that. And then likewise, you could tell me maybe the last horror film ending of the horror film you last watched, maybe not a more recent one because it could be a spoiler for anyone out there. We don't want to do that. Well, I don't care, but there are people out there who do care. So,
Yeah.
so I'll go first. I'll tell you mine, and then you can give me yours. So, the last horror film I saw, the ending is 5 years later than the main events of the movie, and the main character has now one of the main characters is now split into two children, twins. Both have red hair, and one's a girl, one's a boy. And the very last scene we see is the mom taking a doll and killing the nanny who's too afraid to work for them anymore. And we see through a window, we see the girl there smiling at seeing her mom do this.
I have no idea. That sounds crazy. Um, and I can't say that I've seen a movie that ends like that, but it sounds like it's like a Chucky movie.
You're right. It is a Chucky movie. Absolutely is. Just I think the red hair probably gave it away.
Yeah, yeah.
And the doll, but it is Seed of Chucky is what it is. Is what I watched. It's hilarious. So the two parents, of course, have a child, and the child, the Chucky wants to name him Glenn, and the mom Tiffany doll wants to name him Glinda because he can't decide whether he's a boy spirit or a girl spirit in the doll form. So he goes
Oh,
back and forth, and when at the end, when he becomes a real boy, Pinocchio like, or girl, he splits that one doll splits into two different people.
hmm. That
It's
sounds
interesting.
crazy. So I'm gonna have to watch it because it just sounds really, really, really
I think it was
crazy.
on Netflix. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, give it a watch. It's a comedy. I call it a comedy. Horror comedies are probably my favorite genre of horror because I like to laugh at them. But it's
Yeah.
it's it's out there and it's worth a watch.
All right. Well, let me do the challenge as well. See how good I can do with describing the ending to the last horror movie that I saw, which was last night.
Ooh,
So we've
okay,
been trying to watch horror movies like nonstop every day, and every night. So this one ends with a celebration between the main character and his girlfriend. They're, for a lack of a better word, getting it on,
okay.
and it partakes in your city in Vegas, and they just killed the villain of the movie.
I just
And
watched it recently too. I know what you're talking about. When you said it takes place in my city, I knew exactly what it is. It's with Jerry the Vampire and Fright
yeah,
Night. That's an
right.
awesome movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched it last night.
That's a good film, and we spoke about that recently because you mentioned Fright Night Part Two, which I looked up. I haven't yet seen it. Of course, that's the original Fright Night Two from the
Right.
original film. But
Yeah.
I would like to see a Fright Night Two remake, although R.I.P. Anton Yelich, who passed away, of course, but get some characters in there. That'd be cool. I like that franchise.
Yeah, that remake was really good. Like I had forgotten that there were so many great like actors in it.
Hmm.
Uh, there was a ton of really cool actors in it that when I started watching it, I was like, oh, that person's in it, that person's in it.
Hmm.
Most likely, like Toni Collette is like one of my favorite actresses. She plays the mom in the
Yeah,
movie, and she's a great character actress. I love her.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching all these horror films and to watching them and seeing the some of the especially some of the older films, seeing some of the actors, actresses who now recognize them from more work that they've done, and you're like, oh, they got their start in like horror films, like Jamie Lee Curtis, of
Yeah,
course. I
yeah.
watched Halloween recently, and it was just like, this is a lot of fun. I mean, just, it was, I don't know, it's just something about, especially in spooky season, watching these old, I don't want to call them B movies, but these old horror films from the 80s and slasher films. It's just been
Yeah.
a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, speaking of slasher films, I actually went to the movie theater and watched Terrifier 3,
Oh,
which,
okay.
for those that don't know, is the third film in the Terrifier series. Obviously, there's one and two that's been out for quite some time. And it's about Art the Clown, who is a serial killer clown that just is crazy and kills people. Um, it was really it was good. It was funny. There are parts that are very funny, sort of like that 80s B movie vibe.
Hmm.
Definitely not for the squeamish. It's very gory. It's I would say like it's borderline where I would draw the line of like where it's entertainment and where it's like too gory for me to like really watch it. It's like right there at the line. And I have like a side story in regards to that about that it being too gory. But it continues the story of Art the Clown and the main protagonist, the like the final girl in the series where she's the opposite of him. She's like the good character and she is the only one that can kind of kill him.
Oh.
And, not to kind of tell you too much of the plot, but she it follows up with her where she's getting released from a mental hospital and getting like reintroduced into society, but she starts to see him again and he's out killing people and it kind of goes from there. So it's a fun movie. I would recommend it for people that aren't squeamish, that
Mhm.
are like gory movies. But saying that, when I went to the movie theater to watch it, there was a family there with their kids. The youngest child, I swear, had to have been like 6 or 7.
Oh my
And the poor kid was crying and covering his eyes. And they're like telling him to like be quiet. And I'm like, this kid is gonna need therapy. Not only is it like super gory and violent, but like he's gonna be scared of clowns. He's gonna need therapy for sure. And I was just like, this is it just was too much for me. I was like, I can barely like stomach some of the stuff that's happening on screen, let alone a small child. Like I was like, that's too much. Like that
Mhm.
is like I don't know, like irresponsible parenting right there. Like get a
Yeah.
babysitter. And if you don't have a babysitter to go watch that movie, go watch a movie that like everyone can watch as a family. And that being said, like I watch scary movies from a very young age as well. Like, but nothing that bad and not that young. I was like at least, I don't know, preteen before I started watching like really scary movies. So anyway, I just like wanted to mention that because I thought it was crazy that someone would take a small child to go watch that movie.
Yeah, that would end up in what grinds my gear segment. Absolutely. It's like you said, if you don't can't get a babysitter, don't drag your kid to that movie. Go watch a movie
Yeah,
that's more family friendly. And if
yeah,
you can't find one, do something else.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's parents these days.
yeah. It was honestly, it was like a really uncomfortable situation because it's like Do you say something to like the manager of the theater? Like, you can't do anything because it's their
No, yeah.
kid, and they're
Exactly.
and a child is allowed to watch a movie if accompanied by an adult.
Hmm.
So there's really nothing. It just was really bad. It was weird. But anyway, I would recommend the movie, but not for small children.
Must be 7 or 8 years old to watch, you know.
At least, come on, at least.
I haven't seen any of the Terrifier films. But part three, keep seeing ads for him dressed like Santa Claus. Is it a holiday film?
It's, I guess you would maybe call it an anti-holiday film. It takes place during Christmas,
Okay.
and I think that it's really just for the sole fact for them to sort of like mock the holiday and mock, you know, that whole season. There, I mean, it's very it's very gruesome. There's a scene where a victim is like up on a wall and in a position that's like very uh sacrilegious,
Okay. I
in a
got you.
very like Jesus pose.
Yeah.
And it's like that's just why it's during Christmas, is just to kind of make fun of the whole Christmas season and to make it that much more horrific with what's going on. There is an opening scene that takes place during Christmas and he's dressed up as Santa Claus, and it's pretty terrifying. It's a little girl that's like hearing noises and she thinks that it's like the real Santa Claus, but it's him. And it goes from there. And um yeah, it definitely pushes the boundary of like what is acceptable from like a horror franchise. I
Yeah.
know there are plenty of people out there that love it, that like eat it up and are like, what are you talking about? Like horror movies, like the gorier, the better. Um, but there, for me personally, it's like right there at the edge of like, I almost would not want to watch it, but
Mm,
it's just there where I can kind of sit through it and stomach it.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. But if you're not a fan of gore, don't check it out. Go like watch Beetlejuice or something else that's a little more palatable.
You said anti-holiday movie, and that made me think of Krampus,
Yeah.
which I think is also featuring Tony Collette, right? So
Yeah.
tie it back in there. That's a good film with like Adam Scott, and I didn't really know. I knew the story of Krampus, but I really enjoyed how the filmmakers portrayed it in that one, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that was fun. It had some gore.
Yeah, I think that Krampus is like, we'll have to have like maybe a Krampus edition of the podcast where we talk about the history of Krampus and
Okay.
like it's I think it's such a fun um way to like have storytelling for kids during Christmas,
Yeah.
because I mean, being Latino, like I love being scared as a kid, and it's just another way to kind of scare your kids into being good.
Mm,
And I'm surprised that Latinos don't have a Krampus style version of something to do with Christmas, probably just because it might be a little too sacrilegious and they don't want to mess with like the holiday. But I'm really surprised that there isn't like, you're gonna get punished if, I mean, I guess there is, you'll get coal, but like
yeah.
not by like a demon, it's just you don't get your gifts. Yeah, it is an interesting folk tale, I guess, or
Yeah.
tradition, superstition,
Yeah.
that is really good, and it made a really good movie. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, we'll have to. I had that little talk with Gigi Saoguero recently, and she lays heavily into the Mexican folklore and stuff. So maybe there is a story there that we could talk to her about in a future episode.
Yeah, right on.
So interesting.
So, other than that, I have been watching Grotesquerie, which is like
Hmm.
by Ryan Murphy. Also very gory, also very sacrilegious, very serial killer that like mocks religion. I don't know, I shouldn't say maybe mocks, but like takes inspiration from religion and um, has very, I don't know, gruesome killings. It's very gruesome. So also not for. I've been watching a lot of gruesome stuff. It's really weird. But not for people that are squeamish at all. Um, but it's very good. Niecy Nash plays the detective on the show, and she's so good in it. And the story is just kind of really um, is really coming to a conclusion, but like really kind of getting exciting. A lot of the plot is getting really good. So I highly recommend anyone that hasn't watched it to kind of catch up to where it's at in its season. But it's definitely a really good show.
Okay. I didn't know it was a Ryan Murphy show. I'll
Yeah,
check it out when I have
yeah,
time. I was reading a book that I was doing research for this episode, but we're transitioning to read soon, called Feed by an author named of Myra Grant. And
yeah.
it's a really cool take on the zombies. It's set in the future, and they know all about zombies, and they use all the zombie tropes, but it's told through the lens of these bloggers.
Hmm.
So it's called Feed, which I guess it has a dual meaning, like your blog feed, RSS feed, and also the hunger feed of the zombies. So I just started reading that. I thought that was really fun. I would throw that out there for anyone who might be interested in zombie books, which I guess are few and far in between. Um,
Yeah,
there are some, but there's not as many as with other genres like
yeah.
vampires and stuff. But since I did bring that up, I guess sooner than I expected to, just because I wanted to say what I was reading. Let's go ahead and talk about zombies a little bit. I know it's your favorite, absolute favorite, even more topic, even more so than vampires, because it really frightens you in real life. So
Yeah.
let's get into zombies a little bit. Those hordes of creatures and critters that can just overwhelm you, and it's just a topic I think that I enjoy because I enjoy zombies myself, just the whole aspect of them. But I guess for the first question I'd have for you is, and this is just gonna be a real simple one. Do you think zombies should be slow, or are you okay with fast moving zombies? And which do you find more terrifying?
So the fast zombies are by far more terrifying because a slow zombie, I think everyone feels like, oh, I can run past them, I can knock them down. Like, it's not that big of a deal. The fast running zombies are like what really kind of changed the game and
Mm-hmm.
really is terrifying that they're like a wild animal that's on the loose and so yeah, I would if I had to be in like a zombie land or if zombies were real, I would much rather have slow walking zombies that are in like a stupor and a daze than like the you know really fast running zombies that are like have the instincts of like a wild animal. So yeah, I would definitely pass on that.
So they're more feral and more, I guess it can get you faster. But if
Yeah.
you think about it, though, the tension that builds up from a slow horde that's moving at you, and if you don't know where you're at, the lay of the land where you're at, you could corner yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have 50 zombies coming at you, just slowly moving towards you,
Yeah.
and no way to escape. I guess you can plot your, okay, if I rush them, maybe I can get through them. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I think that that would be your hope is that you could kind of do your like football moves and like work around them like faster. Whereas like
you're a
imagine,
Heisman.
yeah, like imagine a horde of like 50 fast ass zombies running towards you.
Oh
That
yeah,
would be so much more frightening. Like
yeah,
there's no
I
way
agree.
that you're outrunning 50 fast running zombies. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's. But I guess also if there's faster zombies. So let's just say you have a mix of zombies, right? You have slow ones and fast ones moving at you. So maybe the fast ones come at you. You could take them out, pick them off one at a time before the horde gets there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many variables of like how you would survive. Like, do you have a gun? Do you have like an automatic rifle?
Hmm.
Like, do you have a flamethrower? Like, are you completely like not have a weapon at all? Do you have like a baseball bat? Like, it just in my mind will just go crazy with that because, like I've said, I've thought of these situations so many times, and I was when in kind of deliberating about what we're going to be talking about today. about zombies, I was like, why am I so scared of them? And I was thinking, I think first I that it's my fear, like I'm totally a hypochondriac, and so I'm scared of that whole getting
Mm-hmm.
bit and turning into
Mm-hmm.
a zombie, because like there's like the germs and the fear of like a disease like that that's like rabies that you can catch, by getting bitten
Yeah.
or by getting scratched or
Yeah.
by
Yeah, that's true.
accidentally getting blood on you.
Mm-hmm.
So that like appeals to that part of my and then like the other part of just like getting eaten up, having some creature eat you is
Take a chunk
crazy.
out of you. Yeah.
Yeah, like they like literally are eating you alive. Um and the realism of like it possibly could happen, like it's not that far-fetched of like some crazy person, you know, being hopped up on drugs or like who knows. And there was that whole phase in Florida where like
The bath
people
salt
were,
stuff.
yeah, bath salts and like becoming zombies. So it's like it's totally something that could happen. It's like not outrageous. Like it's something that is within the boundaries of reality.
Yeah.
Um, and so that also lends itself to like me being more scared of it. But
Well, you said you've thought about it. You're like, what would you do?
yeah,
So let's just say you're in the zombie apocalypse, right? What's in your go bag? Where are you hiding out? How are you surviving this? What's your plan?
I would see, the thing is that this is what gives me anxiety is that I would totally camp out at my house and just build like a fortress, but I would be worried about like my friends and family that like aren't there with me. So I
Mm-hmm.
would be forced to like leave my house and go and venture to try to rescue them. And then like let's say that the phone lines are down, like it's full on apocalypse, like you don't have a way of communicating with people, then you're like searching for your loved ones, and that's
Yeah.
another part that I'm like would be totally fearful of. So there's like multi layers of my fears of an apocalyptic zombie event, is like not being able to get to my loved ones, not being able to protect them. Like, are they already dead? Are they alive? Like, how am I going to get to them? And then once we do, like, how are we going to survive? Like,
Yeah.
are we going to be barricaded in some like house? Like how are you going to survive that? But yeah, I would try to barricade myself somewhere safe and hopefully would be with my loved ones and kind of just ride it out, I
So you need
guess.
to
Like
share a plan beforehand with everyone. Say, in case of a zombie apocalypse, go to page 20. This is our action plan. Meet here and
right, have like a meetup of like where you're going to meet,
yeah,
like, oh, this is our designated meetup area.
yeah.
uh yeah, that's what I would do. I don't know, like what would you do?
Uh, I think I'd find make my way down to a boat, a yacht, and just
uh
kind of like, get out of the water, get onto the water, I guess. And, because that way you can't get like taken by surprise. Well, first make sure the boat's clear.
yeah,
And then, get out there and that way you can't be taken by surprise by anyone just lurking anywhere because it's only ocean around you. And then
can
just kind of
zombies
like,
swim?
what,
Like I
can
don't
they
think
swim?
I don't that is never like a precedent hasn't been set as to whether or not zombies can swim.
True.
I've never seen a movie where there have been zombies in the water.
See, there you
Uh,
go.
so like yeah, I think there's been one, what is it, like Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead, where they're trying to get on a boat to escape.
Hmm.
But it doesn't show like if like I guess your thought is that zombies can't swim and they can't get you if you're on a boat, but zombies are so stupid and are so
They
led
just
by
walk,
their,
right?
yeah, like they would just like or swim to you. Like I don't know, like I feel like that's a good plan in theory, but I would have to know if they could swim or not. Like if they could truly get you, because but I guess then you could just navigate around the ocean. I
Yeah.
guess if you
Imagine that shot though. Imagine that shot in a cinematic view. You're on your boat, right? And the boat pans out and you see the camera go underwater and you just see zombies down there looking up at the boat,
yeah,
reaching up for it. That'd be pretty cool.
and they start piling on each other until they get
There
to
you
you.
go. Until you just see it's like an iceberg, right? You just
Yeah,
see one at the top, but underneath it's like 100 of them.
yeah.
That's
That's why they're like the perfect monster. Like they're super scary because like they're already dead. You can't get like what I guess you can like kill them by like shooting them in the head, right? That's like the
mhm.
rule of zombies is that you have to get rid of their head.
Yeah.
Um, but they're I don't know, they're pretty frightening. They're crazy. I can't. But I
Do
love
you?
zombie movies. Like I really love zombie movies. I find them to be really entertaining and um, scary at the same time.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but what's your favorite zombie movie?
Return of the Living Dead. I've brought it up on the podcast like multiple times. Like it's such a good
It is.
B movie. Zombies mixed with like punk rock music. Um, it's just and with humor and horror and gore and zombies all mixed up together, and it's like it's nearly a perfect uh movie
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
me when it comes to that genre.
I think it's the humor in it that makes me laugh. I mean, the punk rock edge is cool of it, but I think
Yeah,
seeing the zombie go more brains and he's when he's talking on the phone and like send more cops and stuff like that, that just
yeah.
had me rolling. I think I saw it a couple years ago for the first time in its entirety, and it really just blew my mind how well done it was, especially for the time frame when it was created.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. I think the visuals of it are really good. The special effects were like really great. Like they sort of, I want to say like set the standard for like what a zombie looks like. There's like the tar zombie
Hmm.
that is like really cool looking,
Hmm.
um, and then obviously like the punk rock like zombie. I think her name is Trash,
Yeah, I
which
think
is like my
trash. Yeah.
favorite zombie. And they just the aesthetic of it is really cool. Like it's just such a cool visual movie. And then obviously the plot is really fun as well. Like what would you do if you're caught with your friends and you're a teenager and zombies start coming out of the cemetery and like what would you do? So much fun. I love that movie. What
Yeah.
about you? What are some of your favorite zombie movies?
Some of my favorites, Shaun of the Dead is up there. World War Z is actually with the fast zombies. That's actually one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
It's actually one of the only films that when watching it, sort of gives me sort of like a fright in a way. I
yeah,
think because of the tension it builds. So
yeah,
it's one of my favorite zombie movies. I mean, I also like their take on it and how like the zombies won't affect a sick person.
yeah,
So it makes you, and that's how, of course, they escape by infecting themselves with a curable disease, but it's a very bad disease, whereas
yeah,
the zombies won't bother with them. And I think that's a very interesting way to look at it. So that's probably, those are a
yeah.
couple of my favorite.
It's kind of funny, like in a way though, like if you think about it, it's like a zombie's being choosy about what it's eating.
They're
And
being
like
picky.
would you be offended if like a zombie comes up to you and like feeling you out and they're like, meh, like I'll pass. Like, wait, what? You're not gonna eat me? Like, what is wrong with me that you don't want to eat me?
You're like, wait, does the zombie know something that I don't? Do I have some sort of
Yeah,
disease?
yeah. Like, am I not tasty enough for you? Like, really?
It was like a zombie doctor. You're just like sniffing out the disease on people.
Yeah.
You just take the
Yeah,
head of a
that's
zombie
the
around.
movie.
Oh, you're
World
sick.
War Z is really good. I love that one.
Yeah, yeah. What's another zombie film that I really enjoy? I do like Zombieland.
Yeah,
And I like I mean, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg. They have, it's fun. I mean, I like that they call up the rules to surviving it, which I think is a lot of fun.
yeah,
Seeing Bill Murray as zombie was fun.
yeah,
Yeah, Zombieland's up there too.
yeah, yeah. It kind of refreshed the whole zombie genre after it being, sort of it kind of reminds you of like um Scream in a way and like how it's like self-referential, like
Yeah.
it sort of makes fun of like all the tropes of horror movies that are
Hmm.
in that genre
Hmm.
of zombie films. And so yeah, that was definitely a good one as well.
So let's say you're writing the next great zombie movie, book, graphic novel, and you
Yeah.
have the ability to change one thing about the existing zombie trope. What would it be? If you could reimagine something.
Huh. I don't know, maybe like not make them like ugly and gross. Like
Huh.
maybe it be something that like affects you so that you are wanting to like eat other people, but like maybe you don't turn into like a full on ugly looking zombie. So like maybe you can't tell like what the zombies look like until like they're trying to eat you.
That's interesting. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
so it's more um I don't know, like you don't know who's a zombie or not or who's out to get you because there's no signs
Hmm.
that they're a zombie until they actually attack you.
That'd be a good way. I like that because then the more the zombie eats, the more maybe the more type of perfection they get to their in their human form, and
Yeah,
it's maybe more like it could be like a reflection or like a lot of societal reflection on plastic surgery and obtaining the perfect body.
yeah,
So that's I think you're on something there. I like that.
yeah.
See.
Yeah, just because that's, I mean, that's when you become a zombie, like you're not dead, like right, like you could be infected while you're
Yeah.
still normal. So like, why do you all of a sudden have to turn grotesque and like ugly looking? Like
Hmm.
maybe you just look normal and you just are have this like drive to like hurt people or to eat them.
Think what's it called? The Santa Clarita Diet
Oh yeah,
had something similar to that where what's her name? Drew Barrymore was infected. It wasn't a true zombie type thing, but she had
yeah,
this infection, right? And where she wanted brains and stuff like that. She was the undead, but
yeah.
yeah, so that's very similar. So they walk among us type thing, which is really
I
cool. I like
forgot
that.
about that show. Yeah, I think I watched maybe an episode or two and like couldn't really get into it, but that that right there is like what I'm talking about, where like
Yeah.
you can't really tell that they're a zombie, but they still have. I guess it would almost be like kind of like a vampire in a
Yeah, in
way,
a way, yeah.
having to eat people or blood or whatever, brain, but not being repulsive.
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's and speaking of vampires, and we talked about this last time, and remember how I said like the story of a vampire's food running out, right?
Yeah.
So, and I had this idea of what if zombies were the ones that were taking out the humans, and so vampires had to decide who do we attack. And it's actually a graphic novel or comic book series called The Extinction Parade by Max Brooks. He's the author, of course, who wrote World War Z, and he delves into that. And then while doing research for zombies, I found this out, and it sounds interesting. So basically, the vampires have to decide: do we intervene and start killing zombies before they take out our human food supply?
Yeah. Hmm. I was just wondering, like, why you were saying that. I was like, can zombies starve to death? So, like, if they don't get any humans to
Yeah,
eat their brains, do they starve?
yeah. Well, I think in like we see it in like The Walking Dead or other shows where time has elapsed, and now the zombies who haven't eaten or anything like that, they're now more decayed, more run down. You could tell that they've been without food for a while. So I think they can.
Oh, okay. I stopped watching The Walking Dead. Like for some reason, I couldn't get into it. But yeah, that's another show that people love that is about zombies and
Yeah.
what happens after the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I think I stopped watching it, of course, after Glenn got brutally beaten by a bat. Would
Yeah,
would I found out a lot of people stopped watching it after that because it just they didn't like how he got taken out or whatnot. But yeah, I
yeah,
just after that I was like it became too much of human versus human for me rather than human versus zombie.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, that's part of the whole thing, though, right? Is like the survival of humans, and then like the human nature aspect comes out where we
mm,
start infighting, and even during a zombie apocalypse we can't get along, which is another thing that's like super realistic because it's like during the pandemic we couldn't even agree on
yeah.
you know things that were happening.
Hmm.
So imagine a zombie apocalypse. There for sure would be people that are like, I'm not gonna, get a
Yeah.
zombie apocalypse like shot or like protect myself against zombies.
Hmm.
Like I'm just gonna jump into my like pickup truck and start shooting them with the rifle. And
Yep.
so that's another thing that like makes it so realistic and horrific. Like we wouldn't even be able to protect ourselves as humans because we're so stupid that
Yeah,
we can't agree on anything.
that's very true. Very
Yeah.
true. I mean, it's just, yeah, if you think about humans trying to work together. So, like, those movies where, like, humans get together because of an alien invasion or whatnot, there's a bunch of hooey because that would never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It totally wouldn't. We would not be able to agree on
Yeah,
plan of action or anything. But
absolutely not. Let's say you were trapped inside a zombie apocalypse film, movie, or whatever. Who do you want fighting alongside you? What fictional character do you think from any across the genres, comic books, movies, films, who do you want on your right hand side?
probably Superman, just because he can fly. So he would be able to fly you out of the zombie apocalypse, right? You could float around in the sky.
Okay,
He'd be able to.
let me stop you. Let me narrow it down from a zombie film or a
Uh,
zombie apocalypse movie or TV show, not any superhero character. I should have
all
said
right. Well, okay. That changes a lot.
that.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I guess I'm trying to think of like who's one of the best protagonists from a zombie film, and uh, who I would want around. I guess I don't know. I don't remember the plot of what was it the movie with that was in Vegas? Was it Planet
Army of the Dead
Army of the Dead?
with Dave
So
Bautista.
yeah, was I forget, was he like the main hero of the
Yeah.
film? So I guess him. I don't remember the plot of the movie. I'm so old, like I can barely remember like what happened. Did he survive in the movie?
Ah, that's a good question. Did he survive at the end? I'll have to rewatch that.
I
Good question.
literally can, if you put a gun to my head and was like recall the plot to that movie, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like that's how like much of an impact that movie made on me. But Dave Bautista is really cool, so I would say someone that is physically like impressive, that like would be able to fight, had weapons, um, was smart enough to know how to fight the zombies. So yeah, I would probably say Dave Bautista's character. What about you?
Just for funs and giggles, I'd probably pick Woody Harrelson's character from Zombieland.
Yeah,
Second being Lupita Nyong'o's character from Little Monsters,
yeah,
just because she seemed pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. I can't argue with that. Lupita's cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen? I think she was the voice of in that new movie, the new animated feature or like animation, where it's like a robot.
Oh, the Wild Robots.
Yeah, the wild is that what no, is
The
that what it's
Wild
called?
Robot, I think it's called.
Wild
Yeah.
robot. Yeah, yeah.
No,
I've
I
been
haven't seen
wanting
it
to
yet.
see that. It looks really good,
Yeah.
and I'm a big fan of hers. So like, I've been trying to get to watch. And on the plus side, there's no zombies in it, so I wouldn't get scared. So
Yeah, I guess that is a plus side. What and last question here. So for zombies, they've been around for decades, right? From George Romero's Night of the Living Dead to some of the more recent films like World War Z and goodness, what's even the most recent zombie film out there? I don't know, but what do you think keeps it fresh and interesting for new audiences?
oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, I guess just the context of the movie, right? Like, of where the apocalypse happens, how they react to it.
Hmm.
So think of like World War Z, where it's like a worldwide pandemic, where he's like traveling the world to try to
Yeah.
find a cure and like find uh, um, a solution to the problem. Or you have the context of Zombieland, where it's like localized and it's like, he's not traveling the world. He's just like trying to make it through day to day. And what other Return of the Living Dead, where it's like just them trying to survive like the night, and
Hmm.
it's a cemetery. So I guess it's just the context of like trying to make it to where it's a new a new environment. You
Yeah.
mentioned the movie with like Lupita Nyong'o, where it's like a school, right? Or like where it's with kids.
They go on like a field trip to like this camp or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that's what makes the difference is like, okay, what's something new that we can do with zombies that hasn't been done before? Like what would be a cool, environment like the mall or the ocean or, Las Vegas. What haven't we seen before? And let's make a film about that.
Yeah. That, that's true. I think now if you were to make a new film, it would be like a zombie virus erupts at a MAGA rally, but you can't tell who the zombies are because they're already all brain dead.
Yeah.
Any filmmakers out there, go ahead and take that, run with it. I want to watch it.
Yeah. 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 Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be
Oh,
scary on multiple levels for sure.
yeah. That that yeah, it's like when the humans cease to have their own brains, do they become zombies?
Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, that's are there any good zombie books? I know I mentioned one that I was reading. Do you recall any that you've read?
I don't think I've ever read a zombie book.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
read like DC versus Zombies. Um, I keep forgetting. Uh, was it Marvel versus Zombies or Marvel?
Oh yeah,
What?
Marvel Zombies. Well, this is Marvel Zombies Red, White, and Blood.
Yeah, Marvel Zombies.
Yeah.
Um, I think that comic books are like the only thing that I've read that has zombies, like Tales from the Crypt type stuff, like old horror
Hmm.
comics. But nothing like when it comes to like an actual novel.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
there are a few out there. I think one I read a while ago, they made a film adaptation is Warm Bodies.
yeah,
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that one, and it's not young adult, but it feels like it's a rom com type of book, you know. But
yeah.
it's fun. I enjoyed it. It's the movie was actually really good too. So
Yeah. I think that it's hard to write a book about zombies because it's like so much of it is like physical. Like you're
mm,
fighting,
hmm
you're running,
hmm
you know, I guess the description of like what it's like to be barricaded or like but like you don't really have any interaction with the zombie. Like there's no dialogue of a zombie,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
true.
Maybe that's what makes it a little bit more difficult to write about zombies. Maybe I don't know.
I played some zombie video games that were pretty fun. There's like
Medieval.
what is it? There's like a game series called Dying Light, which is really fun. So during the day, the zombies move that slow, but once the sun goes down, they become fast zombies. So they
Huh.
hunt at night, and it's really not scary. I mean, excuse me, video games don't scare me, but it is a lot of jump scares and the tension of can you make it out alive. So
Yeah.
that's fun. Of course, also the Last of Us and Resident Evil,
Yeah.
two video game series that are a lot of fun.
I think zombies are like the perfect genre for a video game because it's like you can shoot them and not feel bad about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So like you get to have like the release of like being able to shoot at these monsters and not feel bad because they're already dead.
Yeah. That's another aspect that filmmakers and storytellers get to play up is do their characters feel remorse about killing the zombies? And what does that say about you or about the person doing it if they do feel remorse?
I feel like every zombie movie has that scene in it where like a family member or loved one gets bitten
Hmm.
and starts turning into a zombie and they have to kill them before that happens and they're
Yeah,
like, please just shoot me or just kill me before I
I
turn.
turn.
Like whatever you do, promise that you're gonna kill me. And they end up like having to kill them or shooting them and the person feels all bad and guilty about it. But I feel like that's like a definite like popular plot point of like
Yeah.
every zombie movie is like someone has to get bitten and transform into a zombie.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say you're in that example that you said about getting your family together and someone comes in with a bite mark, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what do you do? Do you wait till they turn and they're no longer them? Or do you like put them out before they turn?
Yeah, I would probably have to wait to see them turn into a vampire, a zombie, and then get rid of them. Like
Yeah.
it would be too hard to like get rid of them while they're still human.
Yeah.
Like that would be like insane.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. And unlike a vampire, like once a person's a zombie, there's like no hope that they're turning back into a regular person. Because at least with like a vampire, if you kill the head vampire, they all revert back to normal, right?
Yeah, and I think it's harder, well, easier in a way that once they become a zombie, they're just instinctual. There's no higher thought process, right? Unlike a vampire where they can still think and ration, they're not just blood driven for the most part.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, I think I'd have to wait too. I mean, I know in a lot of zombie tropes or stories, they end up putting their loved one in like a closet and locking them in there, and like feeding them every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't do that. I don't think that I would be able to like keep my, you
A
know,
pet.
family member as like a zombie and like keep them alive. Like that would be too much for me. But yeah, they definitely have done that in movies where they're like trying to
Hmm.
keep them alive and they're like they just can't get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, I understand that. I mean, especially if you're in the mindset, okay, that was once my loved one, or even if it's a stranger, that was once somebody. They're they're not just a creature that was somebody. Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it would be harder if they just turned because they don't look like a monster yet. They just
yeah,
look like a regular person. So yeah, it would
yeah.
be very
Imagine if they never decayed and they just got more pretty with each person with each body they ate, and then what do you do?
yeah. Go
I'm
after
curious.
all.
I'm curious out there for everyone what you guys' favorite zombie movies are, or zombie tropes or themes, or do you like this anything we talked about? I want to hear from you guys what in the comment field what your favorite zombie movies are or shows. I'd be curious to see if it aligns with our thinkings.
Yeah. I want to say zombie movies aren't as popular as like vampire movies. Um, I don't know, maybe not. I don't. I would have to do some research just to see like what has grossed more money if it's been like vampire movies or zombie movies. But
Hmm.
I kind of feel like vampires are a little bit more popular.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's because I like vampires and I don't like.
Could be. I mean, it could just be your what you enjoy the most, and
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to do the research on the box
my
office
bias against.
rankings and see.
Yeah. Speaking of vampires, like that was our last podcast topic, but I saw Salem's Lot, the remake. Did you get a
Mm,
chance as well?
not yet. I do want to watch it.
It's not, yeah, it's not bad. It's
Okay.
pretty entertaining. Yeah. I haven't seen the original and I haven't read the book, so I don't have a lot to base, my opinion on other than this new iteration of Salem's Lot, but it was pretty entertaining. It was
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Cool. Good recommendation. I'll have to watch that. I know we're going to be talking about ghosts, not ghosts, witches in our next episode.
Yeah.
So out there. Hope you guys are watching Agatha all along because that's going to be a big topic for us. And we're going to
Yeah.
be talking all about that with all the twists and turns and cool elements that we've been seeing. So make sure you guys come back next episode for Agatha all along and the witches. And of course, some of my favorite movies have to do with witches. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about that. Anything else you have for this week?
No, that's all for me.
All right. Well, until next time, everyone, go eat some more brains. Um, enjoy your week, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.